Hi everyone, welcome back to Maximum Attack Rallying, or should that be Maximum Attack Touring Car Racing? Because today I want to divert away from the WRC and from rallying to talk about racing. Not something I would usually do, so apologies if you don't find that interesting, but perhaps you will this time, because it seems that there is another championship out there that is going a little bit mad, like the WRC is. So, if you have followed me for any length of time, you will know that I really hate the Rally 1 concept. I think it's a step too far. It's taken us too far away from the kind of ethos of rallying. Rallying for me has always been about competing in production cars. And while I accept that you can modify those production cars heavily, I have no problem with WRC cars, etc. Rally 1 is a step too far. You know, the engines aren't even production base anymore and haven't been for a long time. The body shells are scaled around a spec space frame. To me, that isn't what rallying should be. And I think there's another championship which is similar, and that is touring cars, or another format, I should say, another formula, and that is touring cars. So in the UK, the British Touring Car Championship, which if you're in the UK, I'm sure you're familiar with, they decided a few years ago, it was quite a long time ago now, that when they came to the end of what they felt was the end of the Super 2000 regulation cycle, they decided to kind of go their own way with something called the Next Generation Touring Car, or NGTC car. And they are effectively, you take your body shell, a Ford Focus for example, and you cut the front end off, you cut all the boot floor and everything out, and you fit a set of spec subframes, so you effectively convert the car to double wishbone inboard damper. And just like Rally 1, I don't like it, because I think it takes it's taken the format away from what it's supposed to be, and it's supposed to be a production-based formula. Yes, a super touring car, which is actually my favourite era of touring cars, and I suspect it might be yours as well, was very, very far removed from a production car. If you look at a Laguna super touring car, or whatever, a Primera or Mondeo, they are ridiculous. You know, they're nothing like a road car, but the fundamentals were still the same. You know, if the car left the factory with McPherson's strut front suspension, the touring car still had McPherson's strut front suspension. Whereas with NGTC, basically all of that was thrown out of the window. You could take a front wheel drive car and make it rear wheel drive and all this stuff. I just don't like it. Anyway, it seems that the British Touring Car Championship has had another moment of madness, because next year they will be having a new format called the BTCC Junior Championship. So this is designed to cultivate the next generation of talent. It is for 14 to 17 year olds, and BTCC Junior will effectively replace the Ginetta Junior Championship, which left the support package for the British Touring Cars at the end of last season. Was it the end of last season or the season before? I can't remember. So I just thought it was worth talking about, because if you have seen the pictures of the BTCC Junior car, which I will post right now so you can see them, your eyes might hurt. So it's designed by Chevron, who used to be a big motorsport manufacturer and have been resurrected as part of this project. And I mean, for a start, I'm lost for words. I am not the only person to say this. If you look at any thread on Twitter/X or anywhere else about this car, you will see lots of people saying that it looks like a Peugeot 306 has humped something. I can't decide if it's an Alfa 133, a VW Scirocco, a Renault 19, a Peugeot 309, but a Peugeot 306 has had relations with something from the 80s, and it has created this thing. I'm lost for words. I honestly don't know who looked at this design and signed it off and thought, yeah, it's 2024. This is the one. This is the one. Why does it look like an 80s/90s love child car? I don't get it. It doesn't even look good. I mean, a 306 looks great, a 309 looks great, a Renault 19 looks great, but I don't know, the proportions of it are all weird, and I don't understand why they've made it look really old. So that's bizarre in itself. Again, spec space frame chassis, the usual thing. I'm sure it'll be double wishbone. They've put lots of effort into the safety of it, so fair play. You know, that's a good thing. As I understand it, rear-wheel drive, 1.8 litre engine. Doesn't say where it's from. It says designed specifically for this car, I think, in the press release, but it's probably going to be some kind of Ford Duratec or something, isn't it? You know, it's going to be a fairly standard engine that's just built to specification for the championship. Now, I want to say at this point, I do understand to an extent the benefits. Obviously, as I mentioned, you've got safety. You know, the car is, I suspect, quite safe, so that's good. And obviously there is a benefit to having everyone in the same car, because that way you create a level playing field, because when you're assessing junior drivers, you don't want cars to be kind of getting in the way. If you have a mixed field, you could have one car that's better than the others, and that could give people an advantage. So I get that. What I don't understand is why they've gone to all of the trouble of designing this car when you could just use a Clio Cup car or a Ginetta or I don't know. It's just, for me, I just look at it and think, why have we done this? Why have you gone to all the expense and trouble of creating a car when you could just use a car that's already out there? You know, the Mini Challenge supports the British Touring Car Championship. Why not just have a Mini Challenge car for the juniors, or a slightly detuned Mini Challenge car if you want something a bit less powerful? I just don't get it. And there's two reasons for this. There's two things that I really want to talk about. First, price. This thing is, as I understand it, £78,000 plus VAT, so near as damn it 95 grand. That is a lot of money. That is really, really expensive for someone who's 14 to 17. And I mean, you're basically saying that, yeah, sure, we want junior drivers to come through to the British Touring Car Championship, but only if they've got rich parents. So that is baffling. There is no cheap motorsport, don't get me wrong. I understand that. But £95,000 is a lot of money. That is a lot of money. And you could have created something using an existing car that would have cost half that. If you just wanted a basic hatchback looking thing, just buy a load of Clios or Polos or something, put a cage, a spec engine kit, spec gearbox kit or whatever. It would have been a lot cheaper. And also, crucially, you've created a bespoke car for your championship. What happens when you're done with it? So let's say you're 14, you do the championship, you get to 17 and you get promoted and you then get a seat in touring cars. Fantastic. What do you do with the car? You are fixed, you are basically forced, you can only sell it to somebody who is doing that championship, can't you? Whereas the great thing with a Clio Cup car, for example, well, a Clio Cup car could be used in a Clio Cup anywhere, can't it? If you could use it, you could sell it to someone in Clio Cup UK, Clio Cup France. It has a much bigger market, doesn't it? Or those cars often end up being used in other championships. Is this going to be able to be used in other championships? Or is it just going to be locked into this thing? Into this BTCC Junior. It's baffling. It is like NGTC itself. The great thing about Super Touring, about Group A touring cars, about Group 1 touring cars, Group 2 touring cars, whatever, going all the way back, Super 2000, all of these, they were a universal category. So if you bought a Super 2000 car, you could compete with it in the BTCC. And when you came to sell it, if you were a privateer, for example, you could sell it to someone who was competing in the European Touring Car Championship or the German Touring Car, anywhere. As I said, the same has happened with NGTC. Those cars are only really eligible for the British Touring Car Championship and probably some obscure club series. So you limit their future value because you need to sell it to somebody who will use it in that championship. So you're restricting the market for the car, which restricts value, which makes that £95,000 in the case of the BTCC Junior car even more significant. So I don't understand it. I just don't understand why you would go down this path rather than just using an off-the-shelf car like a Clio Cup or Mini Challenge or whatever. I get that you want something simple and relatively affordable. I get that you want something where the driver is the focus rather than the car itself. I get that you want the cars to be safe, but tell me a Clio Cup car isn't safe or a Mini Challenge car isn't safe. These cars are built to high spec, especially things like the Clio, which are built to FIA standards and are, again, widely used. So I just don't get it. I really don't get it. I worry about, I haven't followed the BTCC too closely for the last few years because the NGTC thing just really put me off it. And, it looks like the chickens are coming home to roost because their grids are declining. They introduced hybrid, which has made it even more expensive. I never understood why they've persisted with this path rather than going down the TCR route, which I know TCR has had its problems and hasn't always been that well managed. But again, it's a universal formula, isn't it? And we're now in this weird situation where you've got TCR UK and the BTCC, whereas in reality they should just be the same thing, shouldn't they? So it looks like, you know, they're following the NGTC path with this junior car. I know some people online have mentioned T-cars, which was something from many, many years ago, which was another idea to try and bring junior drivers through in a spec space frame type car, and that didn't work very well either. So I just, I don't get it. I don't get it. It just seems stupid to me. So there we go. I'm going to stop talking. Bit of a making the camera wobble with rage look. Bit of a stupid ranty video this week, but do forgive me because I thought it was worth talking about, because it just shows that we moan a lot about madness in the WRC, but just goes to show that the WRC isn't the only mad championship out there. So thanks for watching. As always, please like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you again next week for something different.